Good evening, everyone. I have 7 o'clock and I'll call the meeting to order. And I'll ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Here.
Miss Emily Hamburg,
Here.
Mr. Tom Schmitz,
Here.
Mr. John Welch.
Present.
And you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. This evening we have Pastor Mark Posen to lead us in prayer. Mr. Posen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray. Father, we just are thankful for this wonderful and beautiful day. Father, this past weekend, Father, as we felt the coolness, the refreshness, Father, it just reminds us of the fall that's coming. We just anticipate that change, Father. We just look forward to the beauty of the change of season with the leaves, and Father, it just reminds us of your beauty. Father, thank you so much for our mayor, our council members, our administrative staff that just help to make this a better community. We pray that you would just bless them and this meeting tonight, Father, that you would just bless all the discussion, Father, that you would just give your wisdom to every discussion, to every decision. Father, we're so thankful also for those who give freely of their time, our volunteers in the community that make this a better community for everyone who calls Bel Aire home. And Father, we just are thankful for all that you provide. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the American flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is determine agenda additions. Are there any agenda additions to be considered? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So the consent agenda contains minutes of the August 20th City Council meeting and confirmation of my appointment of Sharon Armbruster to the tree board. And Ms. Armbruster is here in the audience tonight, I see. So thank you for coming. So Sharon was recommended to me by Rebecca Armstrong, the chair of the tree board. Initial terms of the tree board are for 4 years. And if confirmed, Ms. Armbruster first term will expire in September 1 of 2028.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
a motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Welch. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Congratulations. Okay. Move on to discussion approval of appropriations ordinance. So this appropriation ordinance encompasses the 8/15 through 8/28 expenses and one payroll cycle. So expenses amounted to $398,080.87, and no project costs were incurred during this period.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean,
I move we approve appropriation ordinance number 24-16.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Dean, a second by Mr. Schmitz. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. City requested appearances. This evening we have the Lions Club would like to formally present a donation to the tree board. So I see we have lots of folks from the tree board and some folks from the Lions Club as well. So that's great. So please come to the podium and so anything you say, please speak in the microphone because otherwise folks that are at home or on YouTube can't hear what you say. So.
Good evening. I'm Gary O'Neill. I'm the current president of the Bel Aire Lions Club. And with me this evening is one of our board members, Wendell. And we would like to present a check to the Bel Aire Tree Board This is approximately the 10th year that the Bel Aire Lions Club has presented a check to the tree board so that they, on Arbor Day, will have some funds to be able to plant a tree in someone's honor. And I think this year you were going to do that in honor of Gary Northwall,
Yes,
who
we
had
are.
been long-term president of the tree board. The Lions Club budgets $300 each year that we give to the tree board, since they get no funds from the city. So we try to help the tree board out with some funds. This year, we've increased it to $600. So I'd like to present this to tree board president, Rebecca Armstrong. And if we can get some pictures of that
Yes.
with us in here. Jeez.
Thank you.
And I guess in ending of my part, I would just say to the governing body, over all the years that I've been involved with the city, we just go back to the late 90s, the tree board has never had funding from the city. And I think it would be nice if they could get a little bit of a line item in there to help them with their Arbor Day and their tree board functions.
So now you tell us.
Thank you. We
Well, great.
appreciate that.
That's-
And I wrote a whole speech.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, but we, the Tree Board of Bel Aire, have asked to be on the City Hall agenda tonight. Our role in the city is to preserve the tree canopy, educate the community about trees and green spaces, and help maintain the city's status as Tree City USA. This program was started by the National Arbor Society in 1976 to help our nation become a healthier America, one community at a time. They recognize that saving our green spaces, preserving our trees, increasing the diversity of trees and natural landscapes helps keep our water clean, our air purified, and improves our mental and physical health. We at the Tree Board volunteer our hours to help clean up our parks, led by Emily Graber, who's here tonight. We recently began putting up signs to let people in the community know about our cleanups. It's a lot of fun and a great way to meet new friends and neighbors. It also makes us aware of parks we may have never known about. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Emily Hamburg and Jim Benage. You frequently are part of our cleanups. Just this last Saturday, there were 16 people that joined the cleanup at Eagle Lake. We would like to plant native plants around the lake to help increase diversity, to enhance the pollinators, and to help alleviate the nutrient load within the lake. Plants utilize the fertilizer that has created problems with algae blooms, not only here in Bel Aire, but across Canada, Kansas, and the United States. When we use fertilizers on our lawns, the watershed carries most of these fertilizers to our lakes and ponds. As the weather gets hotter, these fertilizers feed the blue-green algae, which results in sudden blooms, which are toxic to humans and animals. We can do more to alleviate the fertilizer loads by not bagging our grass, using a composter mower blade, and stop using fertilizers. Ask your lawn maintenance company to use composting blades instead of fertilizer. Your lawn and our waters will thank you. As a board, we do not have a budget and rely on the generosity of the Lions Club each year. For over 10 years now, they have donated $300 so we can buy a tree to plant on Arbor Day. This year, the Lions Club has voted to give us $600. We're planning our November celebration of trees on November 16th, Saturday, from 9 to 12, right here in the community room, where we will be planting an oak tree in honor of Gary Northwall, who was our chair for 10 years and a member for 14. We hope you will join us. Come learn about our watershed, the Kansas ornate box turtle, and how we can save them, and how we can make our city more exciting and welcoming to all by improving our green spaces. Thank you, Gary O'Neill, for your long service within our community. You are a leader we all rely on. Lions Club has done so much to make our community thrive. Your generosity and commitment helps bring us together to make this world a better place. I am so glad you are here in Bel Aire, working with the wonderful members of the Lions Club, and that you take the tree board into your consideration. Your donation is most appreciated and will do a lot to beautify the parks here in Bel Aire. Tonight, the city has already voted on Sharon Armbruster. Anyone is welcome to our meetings, and all are welcome to our events. Treetop Nursery has donated trees in the past as giveaways. I hope you will join us anytime at a park cleanup, a monthly meeting, or an educational celebration of trees. It's a lot of fun, and the people of the tree board are great people you will want to know. Gary, thank you for being so kind, generous, and wise. We will put this money to good use.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much.
the donation. So the next item on the agenda is the city council has discussed the proposed budget over several workshops. And so our Director of Finance, Barry Smith, is here to present a brief overview. Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Time will do a brief overview so we don't have to go over it several times during the budget process this evening. Get it all set up here. All right. So part of the budget process tonight is the last formal process of adopting the fiscal year 25 budget. So the process steps tonight are to go through the revenue neutral rate public hearing, pass the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate, have a fiscal year 25 budget hearing, and then adopt the fiscal year 25 budget. So that's where we're at in the calendar. Tonight's night, we handle those 4 items to officially adopt our fiscal year 25 budget. After this evening, we have till October 1st to submit that budget to Sedgwick County for certification and filing with the state. So a brief overview here. The 2024 mill rate for this current year was 43. We have proposed a reduction of that mill rate of half a mil down to 42.5 mils for fiscal year 25, which is just over 1% reduction of the overall mill levy for the city of Bel Aire. As we all know, Bel Aire is rapidly growing. We have developments going on all across the city, residential, industrial, commercial, et cetera. So along with all the increase, that's not right. There we go. So along with all the development in town comes an increased evaluation throughout the city. As you can see throughout the years, especially after 2020 to 21, that's when it really started to increase because of all the development. Our total assessed valuation for the city is now just over $112 million. So with that increased valuation, Mayor and Council have done a great job of responsibly lowering the mill levy as that valuation has increased amongst all of our taxpayers. So as you can see here, that mill levy was just over 45.5 in 21, and we are now down to 42.5 with the fiscal year 25 proposed budget. So well done. Quick overview of our general fund. It is our main primary operating fund of the city. It is the fund that does receive those property taxes that we do levy. That's broken out to just over $4,784,000 in property tax revenues that come into the general fund. There's also roughly $2.5 million of sales tax and use tax that we collect from that 1% Sedgwick County-wide 1% sales tax, along with the remainder of motor vehicle taxes, watercraft taxes, commercial vehicle taxes, et cetera. We do collect almost $900,000 in franchise fees from Evergy, Cox, Southwestern Bell, all the utilities that have that permission to use our right-of-way. Just over 470,000 permits and licenses due to the growth around the city. 194,000 of grants and other revenues, which includes our reimbursements from USD 259 for our school resource officer that we do provide to the schools here in town. Fines fees just over 155,000, and then the rec and pool just over 130,000 in revenues there. So you can see property taxes makes up about 53% of our overall revenues for our primary operations. So with those expenses, 43% of our total expenses of our general fund is just salaries and benefits for employees, just over $4 million. And they kind of go down the line there of contractuals, commodities, capital outlays, transfer to trustee fund, the public building commission, that's for our land debt that's scheduled to fall off around 2034. And then we have our $850,000 transfer to our streets and highways fund to help pay for our streets program that we've been maintaining and upkeeping throughout the years. We have a transfer to bond and interest for debt payments, and then transfer to capital improvements for various park upgrades and other items for that remainder of that to be allocated towards. And then lastly, our transfer to equipment reserve, which then goes to help us maintain and upkeep all the equipment we use throughout every department in the city. So all of this combined, it helps us support and maintain our core city services: public safety, parks, streets, civic engagement, administration, planning, civil engineering, things like that. But it also pays for all the other city services that help support our core operations, which is we got to pay insurance, IT services, auditing, fuel, vehicle repairs, maintenance for everything we have throughout every department within the city. I do not know why it does that. Building upkeep in the sidewalk program, et cetera. So some of the highlights from the fiscal year 25 budget, we did reduce the mill levy down to 42.5. We are still maintaining our 5-year streets program, are continuing to provide those quality services with the focus on employee retention with our step increases, our performance bonuses, and then also 3% COLA citywide to help us keep us competitive amongst the market. It also includes 1 additional police officer to help with scheduling and flexibility within the public safety department, 150,000 in rehab parks, and 250,000 in CIP funds to be allocated towards a project that we'll identify later on. We're sustaining financial stability by maintaining our reserves right around that 30% mark. That is a great indicator of fiscal health, according to Standard & Poor, the credit rating agency that we have our bond ratings graded by. It also goes to fund other capital improvements and projects, upgrade facilities, etc. So that's really the end of the slideshow. It's kind of a brief overview of what we've kind of accomplished over our last several workshops. So I'll stand for any questions when we get to those budget items.
Okay. Well, that was very brief for all the work that we've done in the budget, that you've done in the budget. So thank you for appreciating that. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Okay, we'll move on to public hearings. So item 9A, public hearing, is on the revenue neutral rate. So state law requires a public hearing to be held before the city can approve any tax rate that would go above the revenue neutral rate, which is 38.76 mils, according to state's calculation. The purpose of the public hearing is to give property owners and other interested parties the opportunity to speak on exceeding the revenue neutral rate. Please keep in mind that revenue neutral rate is a concept where the city spends the same money in 2025 as budgeted in 2024. Of course, a growing city and inflation, that simply is impossible to do and continue to provide the services expected by the citizens of Bel Aire. So I'm hereby open the public hearing on proposal to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Citizens who wish to speak regarding the revenue neutral rate are requested to come to the podium, speak in the microphone, provide your name and address for the record. And please limit your comments to the revenue neutral rate. It is not specific budget issues. We will hold another hearing later in the meeting to hear specific concerns with the budget and citizens' concerns. So I realize it's a bit confusing, but we have to follow the requirements of the state on this. So anybody here who wishes to speak to the council about the revenue neutral rate, which we have reduced the mill levy from 43 to 42.5, which will not reduce your taxes, but it does give a little tempering to the increases that are happening due to the property valuations increasing. You want to speak about revenue neutral rate, Brandon? I have a card here that you want to speak about budget, but if you want to speak about revenue neutral rate, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. You can come speak with that. That's fine.
Thank you for hearing me.
Please make sure you speak in the microphone.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
So your
I was
name and
hoping-
address for the
My
record.
name is Brandon McIntosh. My address is 5924 Denise Street. My question was really just a point of confusion reading the paperwork. I'm wondering why the taxes is staying the same while the mill levy went down and the revenue neutral rate is less than the 2023 taxes.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a confusing formula, but I'll try to explain it. If I need help, we'll bring in Mr. Henry or Mr. Smith. Basically, what it is, we set a budget, and then the county then determines from that budget how much that is in mill levies. Okay, so that won't be finally determined until November. Okay, so our mill levy last year was 43. So that times 11% of your property value is your tax rate. Okay. We reducing that by a half, it was 42 and a half, but your property value, assessed value went up, or at least I assume it did, because most of us have been experiencing that in the last couple of years. So that's going to cause your taxes to increase. The revenue neutral rate mill levy is an artificial number that nobody uses. Okay. And that really throws confusion into it, but state statutes and the forms that they use, and I had to ask this question myself earlier this week, say we got to report it as the 38, what was the number? 38,375, I think, something like that, 3876. Okay, so we have to report it that way, but that's based upon this year's assessed values and last year's budget.
Okay, that
Okay.
clears up the confusion.
That's
Thank
why
you.
it's a little confusing. And I get it. It blows the mind the way they've come up with this, but this is a state thing. I have tried to get them to simplify that. They're not interested in moving anywhere to simplify this process, but hopefully one of these days they will, because we have to have two meetings, two open public hearings on this. We have to have one on the revenue neutral rate, and in a little bit we're going to have one on the budget. And it's really the same issue, but slightly different topics. All right.
Awesome.
So,
Thank
does
you
that
for
help?
that explanation. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
thank you. Anyone else would like to speak on the revenue neutral rate?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Welch and a second by Ms. Hamburg to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 9B is a resolution for the revenue neutral rate. Now we have held the revenue neutral rate hearing. State law requires a resolution to enable the budget to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And the resolution will require a roll call vote of the council members. So I will ask, once we have a motion on the floor, I will ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve a resolution of the city of Bel Aire, Kansas to levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue neutral rate and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Welch and a second by Mr. Schmidt. Any discussion concerning that issue? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, or I'm going to ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Greg David,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler Dean,
Aye.
Ms. Emily Hamburg,
Aye.
Mr. Tom Schmitz,
Aye.
and Mr. John Welch.
Aye.
And the motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to item 9C, this is a public hearing concerning the 2025 budget. State law requires a public hearing before the annual budget is approved. So the purpose of the public hearing is to give property owners and other interested parties the opportunity to speak on the proposed 2025 City of Bel Aire budget. So I hereby open the public hearing on a proposed 2025 budget. Citizens who wish to speak regarding the budget are requested to come to the podium, speak into the microphone, provide your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to issues regarding the 2025 budget. Any citizens would like to come speak on the budget?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Dean, or Mr. David?
motion
one.
to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Move on to item 10, citizen concerns. I do have a card from Mr. Gary O'Neill to speak to the city council on citizen concerns. Mr. O'Neill. And you know the routine. Name, address, 3 minutes.
Mayor, third governing body, my name is Gary O'Neill. I live at 4967 North Hillcrest here in Bel Aire. Even though I have Lions Club shirt on tonight, I am now speaking for myself. Anything I expressed is my opinion, not the opinion of the Bel Aire Lions Club. I'd like to make that clear. I didn't want to go change real quick in another shirt. I'm going to speak tonight about the fireworks policy in Bel Aire. I'll try to get through this in 3 minutes quickly. 2 years ago, I spoke when the city council changed the fireworks policy requiring nonprofit sponsorship for the 4 fireworks spots that are available here in Bel Aire. I spoke that it would affect nonprofits. The governing body chose to remove the nonprofit sponsorship from the fireworks policy, which had been in the original policy since the beginning of fireworks being allowed in Bel Aire. That concerned me not only for the Lions Club, but for any nonprofits in Bel Aire, because if you're involved with nonprofits, you know it's hard to raise money for nonprofits for service projects. This year, the Wichita City Council changed their fireworks ordinance to allow aerial fireworks within the city limits of Bel Aire. City limits of Wichita. That affected all the fireworks stands that are in the outlying areas of Wichita, because we sold aerial fireworks and people would come and buy them from Wichita, from all the surrounding communities that allowed aerials. Between the city of Wichita allowing aerials and the city of Bel Aire changing, no longer needing nonprofit sponsorship, our sponsor pulled our sponsorship this year at the last minute, put their fireworks stand that we've worked for 10 years at 37th Woodlawn in the Dillon's parking lot. And we lost revenues from that, as did many other organizations in the area. On July the 3rd at 10 o'clock, I was watching the Channel 3 news, and a 5th generation Wholesale Fireworks member, which Wholesale Fireworks is one of the largest, if not the largest in the state, was saying that 99% of the workers that work in their fireworks stands across the state are nonprofit organizations. And these nonprofits that get the money from working in those fireworks stands put the money back into the local community. This year, because the first time in 10 years, Bel Aire Lions Club did not have fireworks stand due to those 2 policy changes. In the last 2 years, these are some of the major things I just listed that we may not be able to do in the future to help the local community. We donate $1,000 at the end of school year to Isley to pay for students' lunches that they could not pay for. We paid $3,600 for the disc golf equipment that went into the new disc golf course here in Bel Aire. We gave $600 just now to the tree board. We paid $1,729.50 to have the rec center parking lot striped because we thought it was the right thing to do. We wanted to look good. We spent $1,700 for solar eclipse glasses that we gave to the 3 elementary schools here in Bel Aire, so their teachers and the students can go out and watch the solar eclipse that occurred earlier this spring. We provide vision checking equipment, which costs $7,000 for these electronic vision equipment, to the 3 schools here in Bel Aire. September the 9th, it's going to be at Isley. They check their students with our electronic vision equipment. September 23rd, it's going to be at Resurrection, and then later it'll be at Sunrise. And we've been doing that for years. Those things cost $7,000 a piece, and it costs us $1,500 for a 5-year warranty for one of those. Those are just some of the things that we do that you may hear about, but there's so many other things that our club and other nonprofits do that you don't hear about. I just want to impress upon you, I was so discouraged when the council removed the nonprofit sponsorship status from the policy 2 years ago. And I don't know why it came up. It must have been a for-profit that asked that it come up. I have no idea why it came up. But I would ask that the council consider maybe sometime in the future reviewing that policy. The Lions Club may not be able to get fireworks stands here again. We may have to replace that fundraiser with some other project.
Mr.
But,
Nels,
I
can
just
we
want to
wrap
let
that
you
up?
know there are repercussions to some of the decisions that we make sitting up there, as you well know. Mayor?
Appreciate it if you could wrap it up, please. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your input, and I think it might be wise that we do a workshop on those two issues with the fireworks. So, because that was a last minute change that happened to us last year and end up with your sponsor moving to
Right.
Wichita.
Yeah, and had Wichita's policy not changed, we would have had, because we'd already
Yeah.
gotten the permit to be back just south of Dollar General. But,
Well, we do appreciate all the things
Things
that you're doing
change,
in the
but
city, so thank you very much.
we just
and
appreciate your reconsideration.
We'll consider it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens that wish to speak to council tonight? If not, I'll move on to council member reports. Ms. Hamburg, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. On Thursday, August 22nd, I attended the relatively brief en banc meeting with the CCUA. Basically, the CCUA manager just went over the budget with Park City and Bel Aire. And then this past Saturday, August 31st, attended the park cleanup at Eagle Lake. And it was mentioned earlier, the turnout was really phenomenal. So I was really, really pleased that so many people could make it out, and really appreciate each and every person. And just as the weather gets cooler, it will be more pleasant. Even at 9 a.m., it felt better than in prior months. So appreciate everybody that came out for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Welch.
I have no report.
Mr. Schmidt.
Just the en banc meeting as well, but nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Mr. David.
I also attended the en banc and the CCUA meeting, and it's good to have that budget approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dean.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the en banc meeting, as everybody else has reported, but a couple other things. I did attend the Kansas Water Conference last week. It was a great couple days. I was actually there and was able to learn a lot on several issues. There was sessions on drought, PFAS or forever chemicals, reuse water applications, water tower maintenance, and some other topics. I know that staff and others have been to that conference in the past, and I certainly appreciate the thoroughness is probably a good word of how much is provided at that conference for public works and engineering folks alike. Also had the opportunity to visit with several of our engineering partners while I was there, PEC, Burns and Mac, Garver, there's others, quite a good representation of those companies that we work with. So appreciate them attending and appreciate getting to see them. A reminder that the monthly chamber lunch is tomorrow here in the community room at City Hall at 11:30. I believe the speaker is a person from Boy Scouts of America. So if you want to learn more about Boy Scouts, feel free to come. And then also I just wanted to give a shout out. I know staff has been working hard and our city engineer as well. It's just exciting to see the progress on 53rd Street and to see all the stripes on Oliver and all the things that we've all been wanting to happen really coming together. So it was really nice to see paving on 53rd Street. So thank you to Ted and Ann and all the folks. I know that's been a daily thing for them. We only see it here and there, but appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to mayor's report. So I understand yesterday was Mr. Dean's birthday. So belated birthday to Mr. Dean. Saturday, August 25th, we lost a Bel Aire citizen in a house fire. And so please keep him and his family in your prayers. And thank you to Sedgwick County Fire and Bel Aire Police for their work in securing this fire and to minimize damage and additional tragedy. Citizens may remember on June 13th, we recognized Bel Aire citizen Miss Tamara Blackwell as Miss Wheelchair Kansas 2024. So this week of August 19th through 23rd at the National Convention, Miss Blackwell was awarded Miss Wheelchair USA for 2025. So you may have seen this in the Bel Aire Breeze or social media, but congratulations to Miss Blackwell. We know she will represent Bel Aire, Kansas, and the United States well in this new role. On Friday, August 23rd, the Canadian rail workers went on strike. This has a potential effect on chlorine supply. So the vast majority of chlorine used in the United States is produced in the United States. Some of it is imported from Canada. And if the Canadian rail stops working, that has a threat to the U.S. supply. The Canadian Labor Board ordered the rail workers back to work on Monday, August 26th, and imposed a binding arbitration. So the supply chain should be solid with these actions. The Teamsters Union has appealed that decision, so this is not a settled issue. So I advised Tony, our ZCUA utility manager, Ted Henry, and Sean Fox, Park City administrator, that they might want to monitor their respective chlorine supplies to ensure they remain on the plus side of normal stock inventory in case there is a supply disruption due to a strike. So on September 14th at 8:30 a.m., the Sedgwick County Association of Cities will meet at WSU Woolsey Hall. And that is a new location. Woolsey Hall used to be on Fairmont, and it's not there anymore, even though the GPS will tell you it is. So please, if you need to know where that is, we'll get you a map. Additionally, the Bel Aire with Clinic in a Can will be hosting a SAC meeting on November 16th at Clinic in the Can in Bel Aire. So I do encourage all Bel Aire City Council members to try to attend that meeting on November 16th. And I just learned that that's going to conflict with the tree board meeting on that same day. So we might want to see what we can do about that. I can't change the SCAC meeting, but maybe we can adjust some timeframes or something so we can be able to attend both. So on September 20th at 11:30, the K254 Corridor Association is meeting here at Bel Aire City Hall. And again, I encourage all city council members to try to attend this meeting to show Bel Aire support for the K254 Corridor Association. The recent rains have been wonderful for Bel Aire and much of the metro area. We thank good Lord for these rains. However, please remember why we are in the drought emergency. It has nothing to do with the rainfall in Bel Aire or Wichita Metro, except that the lack of rain causes us to use more water. It is solely because the Cheney Reservoir is down more than 7 feet from normal, and the entire Wichita Metro area is not in the watershed that feeds to Cheney Reservoir. That watershed starts at the reservoir and proceeds some 70 miles west, nothing east of the reservoir. And so this is very conceivable that if Wichita had their new water facility in operation, we would not be in a stage 2 drought emergency, as the aqueous beds from which they also draw water is 93% full. But the current 100-year-old Wichita water facility has to have a ratio of water from Cheney and those aqueous beds. The new plant does not have that required ratio. So please continue to pray for rain, especially for rain in the Cheney watershed. So on Saturday, August 30th, I joined the tree board as Councilmember Hamburg and tree board also said. So in the trash cleanup at Eagle Lake Park, I should get right. We also, as good citizens, to help with such a great project. These activities do make Bel Aire better on the edge. So I'll now ask our city attorney for her report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The American Society of Civil Engineers hosted a conference on August 15th. Our city engineer attended and helped organize it. I provided a presentation on ethics in one of the breakout sessions. The conference was very informative. Many topics were discussed, and what took the lead was water. The Kansas Strategic Water Planning Process, it was discussed. The key principle in the Kansas Water Plan is that any success in dealing with water problems is far more likely when the public is aware, concerned, and engaged. I really like that vision. I like that statement. And on that note, the Utility Advisory Council is having a meeting on Wednesday, September 11th at 3 p.m. here in the city building. If anyone would like to share input regarding the Bel Aire Water Conservation Plan, the Utility Advisory Council welcomes you, would very much like to hear from you. Again, that's Wednesday, September 11th at 3 p.m. And Mr. Mayor, I have no further comments.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Water seems to be a theme here. Our efforts to conserve water in stage 2 drought are going well. The city overall has a 33% decrease in usage compared to July. As you know, we receive water from 2 sources, CCUA and Wichita. We've managed our sources well and have seen major reductions in Wichita water as well. Kylie put together a letter that was mailed to our backflow device list. It explains the process and provides contact information for any questions. There'll also be information sent in the water September utility bills account to just kind of better explain the process we're going through. As you know, we have a small staff. Tom Davis, our code enforcement officer, is running the enforcement program with support of City Attorney Maria Schrock and myself. Part of our plan is some exemptions, and one exemption I've granted is the berm that runs from Central Park entrance to Isley. This area is maintained by Central Park HOA and has undergone extensive dirt work regarding and regrading to address major erosion control issues we've had on the sidewalk. This project ends with seeding that was scheduled months ago. We want to keep pedestrians safe. We also, while they're walking the sidewalk, I see it as a safety issue, especially for children walking to school. HOAs are not exempt from following the 1 time per week irrigation if they use city water. However, some HOAs have 54 zones that need to be phased that might not fully fit into that 12-hour cycle that we have. So I've talked with these HOAs and made sure that they're very clear that they're only watering 1 time a week. But if you see some sprinklers going off that looks off schedule, that might be the reason. So I just wanted to communicate that with the citizens and staff. We can confirm that they're watering 1 time a week through other means, such as monthly usage reports and those types of situations. So again, they're not exempt from 1 time a week. It's just the fact that they have 54 zones on their system. They can't do it in the area there is. Please come to National Night Out this Saturday from 4 to 8 at City Hall. There'll be free food, live band, snow cone, ice cream, face paint, bouncy houses, and more. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Now, look forward to the Saturday night out, or night out on Saturday, I guess it is. So, all right, great. We'll move on to ordinance, resolutions, and final actions. So item 12A is approval of the 2025 budget. Council held discussions on the proposed 2025 budget in June, July, and August workshops. Director of Finance Barry Smith is here to answer any questions, as he was available earlier. So if you have questions now, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Good evening once again. So this is the final step for adopting the budget. In your packet this evening, there is confirmation of the affidavit of publication that was in the Ark Valley News from August 22nd, meeting that 10-day deadline for the publication of notice of the hearing and the budget itself. There's also snapshots from our city website showing we did post those hearings, notices, and the proposed budget on the website as well. And the proposed budget itself and the state form is also posted within the website and the packet this evening. So I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Henberg.
one thing I wanted to follow up on that we had a discussion about during our budgeting process was regarding the chamber funding. And we had wanted to talk to Mr. Maxwell, and he came and gave us a report on August 20th. And I don't think we sort of had a wrap up about that, or I don't recall a consensus, because there had been discussion about reducing the funding based on the initial goals. So I was just curious if council wanted to finalize that decision now that we've heard from Mr. Maxwell.
Well, I thought he said during this discussion that he was okay with the amount we were talking about. We were talking about 15,000, correct?
Yeah, that'd be the maximum. Yeah.
Which is holding it the same as last year and not doing a reduction.
Yes.
Okay. So council's consensus was to not do a reduction this year?
Mr. Mayor, that's not what I heard. I heard a lot of discussion about reducing it at least somewhat. So I missed that if it came in as the same on the budget.
Yes. Yeah, on the proposed budget, on the notes there, we did change that to up to $15,000. So it's whatever council decides at that time, or if you want to decide this evening, that's fine as well.
So just keep in mind, we cannot increase the budget now. We're past that deadline, but we can reduce things. So
with
that is the desire.
budget this evening, we're just setting those maximum expenditure threshold amounts. So if we do reduce that one line item by that amount, we'll just flip that over and add that back into the cash reserve carryover amount for next year. So it keeps those expenditure thresholds the same. So it's not going to change what's being presented tonight with the certificate. But if you want to go ahead and make that decision, we can note that on the line item itself. Yeah.
If we decide to reduce that, at what point in time are we committed? When do we have to do that? January or anytime during the year? I don't know. I don't know when we actually give them the money. It's kind of the question.
Anytime. So this is just setting our maximum expenditure amount, dollar amount. So any point throughout the year, we can always spend less.
Well, as long
There's
as we're
no
not handing them a
timeframe.
check January 1st for 15,000 is what I'm asking.
Yeah, it'd have to be
So-
25. Yeah.
Councilmember Welch, historically, we invited the chamber in January to give their end of the year report. And then after that, we would issue the check after that discussion. And I can make sure that that happens too. So if you want to get their end of the year report in January and then make your decision, then that's an option as well with all the facts that they want to bring, if that makes sense.
That works for me. I just want to make sure we didn't accidentally spend 15,000 when we had set up to 15,000.
Yeah.
No, and that's the beauty of the notes is we'll make sure and communicate that clearly with the council, how much that check is cut before we cut it.
I would support up to 15 then, and then we can decide in January.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 City of Bel Aire budget as presented and authorize all required signatures.
Second.
a motion from Mr. David, a second by Mr. Welch. Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Next item is 12B, the developer Chapel Landing 6th asked Bogman to prepare an agreement for professional services for water, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and street improvements. The agreement now comes before the council for consideration. The agreement includes design, construction staking, construction administration, and observation of the various improvements. The costs associated with the project will be financed through a bond and spread as special assessments against the benefiting lots. The city engineer, Ann Stevens, is here to answer any questions. Ms. Stevens.
And this is the location of Chapel Landing 6th. You're not going to notice a whole lot of difference on 53rd. There's currently a concrete drive entrance that goes to nowhere. That is where Chapel Landing 6th will be going.
That's what it's for, huh?
Yes, there was actually a purpose behind
Okay.
installing it. We were trying to think ahead.
Good.
Is
I'm
there
gonna
an
rag-
issue?
I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
rag on you just a little bit. You did check all the sewer lines, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor,
Smith.
is there a issue with is that a single in and out, or I mean, do they need to have more than one way in and out of a development?
So
not?
ideally, yes. The fire code requires two points of access with over 30 lots. So since
This is
we are
under?
below that 30 lots, I believe
29?
we're 26, 26 or 28. So, really close. But because we're just under that number, they only require the 1 point of entrance.
Okay,
Ideally, yes, you do want to.
all right, thanks.
It looked odd to me too.
Mr.
Good
Mayor,
question. Mr. Dean.
I know this is, and this is probably a future step, but I know that development just to the east is that Chapel Landing 5th. I don't know what phase.
Just to the east is Chapel Landing 3rd.
That's the development that has 0 sidewalks in it.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm saying is there going to be a future step that we can require per developer agreement that there is sidewalks in this development?
There is supposed to be sidewalks on one side of the street.
Okay.
So there should be sidewalks in Chapel Landing 3rd. I'm not sure why there is not. So I have made a note of that, and I will get with our the rest of the team and figure out what's going on there.
It's either that one or the one just to the east of it, but I don't think it's the one to the east.
The one to the east of Chapel Landing Third is Bristol Hollows, and I know there are sidewalks there, so I'm guessing it's Chapel Landing Third that you're
I
talking
think it's
about.
Chapel Landing Third.
Okay.
Yeah, they're supposed to be.
But it would be a part of a future developer agreement that would come before us. This is just getting things started, or has that already come before us?
I believe the developers agreement for Chapel Landing Sixth has been before you already because it's already been platted.
Okay.
But that being said, there's been a lot of back and forth with developers agreements, so I'm sure Ted is making a note, and we will be checking this
Sounds
into
good.
this to make sure that we have one available. If not, we will bring one before you prior to accepting bids for that project.
Thank you.
Any other questions concerning Chapel Landing 6th?
And this was platted and developed what year? Last year? Or this isn't a recent
It was
development.
probably either 23 or 24. It's fairly recent.
Is it? Okay.
Any other questions or discussions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David,
make a motion to accept the agreement with Malm for the design, construction, staking, and construction administration and observation services for the Chapel Landing 6 water, sanitary sewer, drainage, and street projects in the amount of $248,800 not to exceed, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Dean. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Move on to item 12C, purchase of a new mower. So Public Works maintains our city ditches using 4 zero-turn mowers and 2 mid-sized tractors. The motor on one of the zero-turn mowers, the motor on one of the zero-turn mowers recently failed, so this mower needs to be replaced. Director of Public Works, Marty McGee, is here to discuss the bids and answer questions. Mr. McGee.
Do we have any questions on this? I know Mr. Welch emailed me and asked me if I had looked into different options, and I did look at that. I looked at a Hustler, Ferris, and a Toros, and all those would be higher priced than what we're getting at Kansas Golf and Turf for the X Mark that we're purchasing right now. So did look at a few.
Thank you for your email. I appreciated
Okay.
that, explaining all that.
As you guys know, we run 4 mowers. I would say 3 to 4 days a week. And right now we have 3 running. The 4th one's kind of putting us behind. That's why I'm up here asking for another one.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt.
So then one question I have then is, you don't have a budget, you have to come before us because there's not a budget to cover it, or it's not
Anything
already allocated?
Anything over 10,000 has to
No,
come up to the group.
Exceed
So-
spending authority.
So what we just passed earlier was the general fund budget, water sewer. With our equipment replacement plan, it's a non-budgeted fund. So anything we spend out of that has to come before council. So that is planned over the next 5 to 10 years. So when we estimate a police car, we need to replace 1 a year. So that'll be budgeted in there, and we just do a transfer from the general fund into that fund. So it being a non-budgeted fund, every expense out of that fund will come before council.
Okay.
And there's 2 like that: the capital improvement program and the equipment replacement fund.
Thank you.
Thank you. And another question you had was, did I look at replacing the motor? And yes, I did. It was going to be $5,000 to replace the motor. And then you don't know what's going to go wrong with it after that. After, 15-year-old mower. So hydraulics go out. We put another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in it in a month's time. So wasn't really feasible to do that.
I believe you said it had 20,000 hours on it already, which is a
It
lot
does.
of use.
Okay.
It does.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours.
It
Okay.
served its purpose. And now it's a parts mower.
I was wondering if you were going to try and sell it or what you were going to do with it, but just,
Parts are better, I think. That's what we're doing with it.
Everything except the motor, right?
Everything but the
Cannibal
motor. And some parts off the motor.
Okay.
why not?
So, any more questions on that?
I'll make a motion to accept the contract for equipment purchased between City of Bel Aire and Kansas Golf and Turf for a new lawnmower and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Welch, a second by Mr. Schmidt. Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next item on item 12D is the purchase of a grinder pump for $70,500. So the Harding lift station has two pumps that send sewer to CCUA treatment plant. Both pumps are the originals. And we have repaired this pump multiple times over the course of its lifetime. They are currently in need of additional repairs or replacement. So staff quotes two options: repairing the existing pumps or replacing them with a new grinder pump. So the Director of Public Works, Marty McGee, is still here to discuss bids and answer questions concerning the grinder pump.
Okay. As you guys know, every year we're trying to replace at least one grinder pump in all the lift stations. This year, this is the one we need to do. And it's a little more expensive this year because this is a bigger motor than all the other lift stations because it has to push the sewer at a further distance. So, and just to let you guys know, if this doesn't pass tonight, it's the price is going to go up to $74,782 after September 5th. So that's just what I was told because that's what they're doing. There's going to be an additional $1,000 delivery charge. So that's going to bring us up to what, $70,500, I think was the total.
But that's the installed price, correct?
That's the solid price. That's installation, new rails and the lift station and all too.
Okay.
So we've had that pump go down twice this month already. And we've had to be out there for hours pulling it and trying to get it up and running. The wear bearings are gone out of it and it needs to be pulled out and rebuilt.
So I saw a fairly long lead time. What was that? Is it 15 weeks or 24 weeks?
12 to 14 weeks.
12 to 14.
Yep.
Okay. So we're looking at 3 or 4 months there.
It could get here sooner. He says that's what he's got to give, but it could be sooner. So
Okay.
just
Well, if
lead
you're having
time.
that much trouble, I hope it's soon.
Me too. My guys have been out there a lot lately.
The second pump, what condition is it in? Are we looking at another year or two out of it, or is it?
I'm hoping so. Next year, I might be back up here asking for another one because I don't know until we pull it out and look at everything once we have it out. But we haven't had any problems with that pump one. This is pump two that we're going to replace. This is the one we're having all the problems with. So pump one could be in bad shape. It just hasn't shown any signs yet.
We never ended up with a spare on the shelf either out all these deals, did we?
No.
Okay.
No. So once we pull like this one, once I pull this out and we put this new grinder pump in, we won't be able to use that pump back in that same wet well because the flutes are different sizes. So when they pull that out, they have to put a whole new section down in the bottom of that wet well. And then that pump sets down on top of that. So it's basically nothing we can do with it. So
Except spare parts.
That's
Spare parts.
maybe.
Recycle, I think, is what he's really telling
Right.
us.
Getting a lot of spare parts.
Yeah.
So life expectancy on these pumps, is it, how long?
You know, I can't answer
Varies?
that. I really don't know the life expectancy. These have been in there for 15, 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been
So-
there a long time. That's an
And
old-
these newer
that's an
grinder
old lift
pumps that
station.
we're buying are supposed to be a lot better quality than what we've had 20 years ago.
Councilmember Schmidt, can you clarify, is that life expectancy of usual equipment or Bel Aire equipment? Which,
Well,
think that's really good life out of that, considering all
Yeah.
the stuff that
Well, it
people
goes
putting
through.
down the sewers.
Marty, I do have a question on these grinder pumps. Can they be rebuilt?
Yes, they can. They've got parts they can rebuild these grinder.
Do we have
pumps
an
if needed.
idea of if one of those went down? How
Cost, have no clue. So we've got, what do we've got? 2, 4. We've got 5 total so far. Actually, we got 6.
I mean, I know we don't want to do it, but it might be good to get an idea of what rebuilding one of those would cost. I know they're newer, but
Right.
and I mean, just looking at the repair rebuild, it kind of looks like this pump's obsolete. I mean, they're charging you more to rebuild it than to buy a new one. So
that is the problem. That's why they're costing so much to do that.
And the other thing is, we've been replacing these pumps, these flight pumps with grinder pumps, because we do have people that put things in sewer lines that shouldn't go there. And this helps grind it up. It doesn't guarantee it will all get ground up, and that's a big mess when it doesn't. So
It really
backs
is.
up sewers. It's just not cool. So, okay.
So we have 3 more pumps in the next couple of years that I'll be up here asking for. So, and it won't be this expensive. They'll be the smaller pumps. It'll be the 60 horse. So it'll be
60 horse.
Yeah. So it'll be 42,000. So,
Okay.
so
that would get all of them to the grinder style and
right.
same model, same manufacturer and all that stuff.
Everything.
Very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll
Mayor-
make a motion to accept the
Mayor
contract
Benoit.
for equipment purchase and service between City of Bel Aire and JCI Industries, Inc., a new grinder pump and installation, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Motion by Mr. Welch. Do we have a second?
And Mayor Benaj, may I just make a few comments, please?
After I get a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. David. Ms. Schrock.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, JCI contacted us this afternoon with some revisions to the agreement. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew these are not objectionable revisions. One of the revisions is they just wanted to be clear about their warranty, that it is a 1-year warranty. That is the exclusive warranty for this specific product, that they changed it from incorporated to LLC, that they are expecting to receive the exemption certificate from Bel Aire. They were providing additional information about the insurance they cover so that the city of Bel Aire knows that they are doing everything they can to make sure to provide a product in good working order. And they are also aware of the 12 to 14 weeks lead time. They're going to make every effort to meet it, but they also did not want to be punished in case something out of the ordinary occurred, some type of factory issue or a shortage. But those were changes that came this afternoon that you weren't aware of. And I just wanted to make sure you knew.
A point of clarification for Marty. And it probably was on the mower, but one of these had a 5-year warranty. Was that the mower?
That's the mower.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
didn't want to make sure it wasn't
So-
this, so, okay.
Yeah.
So in light of these contract changes that we were not aware of, is your motion still valid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and your second, Mr. David? Okay, very good, thank you. No worries, okay. Any additional questions or discussion before we go?
I assume you're accepting these changes as okay?
I believe it's all legal aspects that they're looking at, just making sure that's why they didn't even come back to me. I didn't even know that.
Okay,
So,
all right, thanks.
Very good.
thank
All
you.
right. I have a motion by Mr. Welch and a second by Mr. David. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is executive session. What do we think, Ted? 30 minutes?
I
30.
doubt that'll cover it.
Hopefully. that'll cover it.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
I'm going to make a motion to recess into executive session to discuss with legal counsel and receive legal advice related to the Woodlawn roadway project. The discussion will be pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 for legal consultation with the city attorney, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Invite the city manager, the city attorney, the city engineer, Neil Gosh, and Catherine Chomsky. The meeting will be for a period of 30 minutes, and the open meeting will resume in city council chambers at 8:35 p.m.
A second.
Motion by Ms. Hamburger, second by Mr. Dean. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Executive session for 30 minutes. Call the meeting back to order. We held an executive session. No binding action was taken. Ready to move on to discussion of future issues. So the City Council workshop is next Tuesday, September 10th at 6:30 PM. Make sure everybody's available for that. I will not be able to attend that myself, but you certainly are welcome to do it. Greg will do a fine job.
I plan to be here, but I don't know the topics.
Ready for some fun? Maria, you go first.
More fun than the budget.
Yeah. Oh.
It's about the updates about the Uniform Public Offense Code and the Standard Traffic Ordinance.
We'll also have a detailed update of our ERP implementation. And then I invited Kristen Zimmerman from PEC to talk about the different grant opportunities that are out there. I've been getting a lot of emails and a lot of, hey, what about this? What about that? So I kind of put together a broad course on grants and which ones we are going to be most successful at, which ones maybe we should let slide so that it's more of a priority type situation for us. So it shouldn't take long. I just thought we should have a general discussion about grants and getting the right priorities in line with what opportunities are out there.
Will our packet have any drafts of these codes in it?
She just left. I hope so. And I will, there you go.
Will our packet have any draft of these codes in it?
What I can do, Mr. Mayor, is I can find what the changes are between the last version to this version and put that in the packet.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Don't like coming in and having all those changes and not having any idea what we're talking about. So, okay, very good. Thank you. So any other issues you would like to discuss next Tuesday? Sound like a lot of fun stuff. Okay. Move on to adjournment.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Welch, second by Mr. Schmidt. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And if you're opposed, you can stick around while the rest of us leave.
Oh, I
Everybody
thought
have a
Mr.
good night.
David seconded that.
You get credit for that
That's
one.
Schmidt.
Was it Schmidt? Okay.